chatting with David Bell before we came on the air, who joins us now. And, we were kind of talking about the difference between, hiring a real estate agent or choosing a president and what information is good and bad. Now, David Bell has a lot of experience being a real estate agent as a managing broker with RE/MAX Metro Eastside and is our resident RE/MAX Hall of Famer. Hello, David. How are you?
Ben, great to see you. Good to be back. How are you doing?
I'm really good. I'm really good. We're excited to be on just about every day now, and and now here we are on the presidential debate day.
That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm not sure I'm going to have a chance to watch it, but I will tape it and watch it later. But what you were saying really kind of makes sense in our business as well. I had a discussion with a friend the other day about another real estate agent. About what do you tell clients and what do you not tell clients. And what I found in this business is that there's so many legal things going on today. It's such a litigious society that big real estate companies are nervous about getting sued. So what they're telling their agents is they don't want their agents to give that much advice. They just want their agents to be a kind of a disinterested third party and just let the client kind of lead the way. And I just completely, utterly am against that.
So how do you determine, I guess, are you saying that basically you should be giving them no advice? How does that work?
Well, I think you should be giving them all kinds of advice.
Right? It kind of seemed that way.
Yeah, and here's an example. Somebody finds a home they really love up in Linwood. And it's in their price range. They really like it, but they work in South Seattle. And a commute is really an important part of your day. And do you tell people, hey, if you really like the house and it's in your price range, go for it, buy it, and then let them discover what the commute's all about later? I don't think so. And what I would tell my clients is that, we've sat down, we've discussed what your needs are, we discussed the direction you want to go, and one of the big things on your list was to have a short commute time. Well, Linwood to Seattle or South Seattle is not typically a short commute time. So if this is a house you really want, then what I suggest you do is you drive up to Linwood at 6 o'clock in the morning, you go have a coffee, and then you drive to work at the time that you'd be normally going to work and see what it's like. And then when you leave work, do the same thing, drive back to Linwood. And do it a couple different days, and do it a day where it's raining out. And I think
not the day before Thanksgiving,
not
right?
the day before Thanksgiving. But do it when we have rain, and I think we're going to have rain pretty soon. And so you really get a full understanding. Where a lot of agents just go, "Hey, you like it? Let's write an offer on it."
So is there I guess there's I hear you say maybe not giving advice, but is there maybe a process by which you can help people self-discover?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And see, when I first sit down with folks, I really make it a point that I need to sit down with them generally for about an hour, and I take extensive notes and I really ask them very, very pointed questions about what it is they're looking for, what they expect, what's their ideal house, what's their ideal neighborhood, all this stuff, what's their ideal style of house. And what I find is that folks are usually about 60%, on average, about 60% accurate on their perception of what it is they want. And when we start going through the process and we start looking at things, we start learning about things, we start getting educated, so to speak, some of their ideas, some of their things that they wanted to begin with are not things they want in the end. Some of the houses or house styles they said they absolutely would not want to live in, they buy and they absolutely love, because they don't really get a good perspective. They don't get an understanding until they got boots on the ground. So if you're looking on the internet, you're talking to friends, you're just going by what your intuition tells you, you're really not out there, you're really not seeing things.
Is that more are first-time home buyers more prone to maybe making the wrong early selections of the features and benefits that are important, or does it not hold true to just the first or second time buyers?
Is it like, do first term presidents make more mistakes than second term presidents?
I couldn't even tell you the answer.
Yeah, and so it's really across the board. I think first time home buyers, and to add one more thing into that formula, first time home buyers that are moving here from out of state really need a tremendous amount of hand-holding, a tremendous amount of education. That's not to say that first-time home buyers that have grown up in the Seattle area or the Bellevue area don't need the same. And that's not to say that second and third-time home buyers don't need all this. It really depends on what their experiences were to begin with.
Well, I think you can take this all back to just the element of the commute, because every commute is really quite different. I mean, whether you're traveling from, as you said, Linwood to Seattle, or West Seattle to Kirkland, or whatever it may be, once you kind of have to cross that good old Lake Washington or go around it in one way or another,
Yeah.
it all changes. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
where you started or
Yeah.
where you're coming from or going from the first time.
Yeah.
Those traffic lines that you get on, the morning news, when they turn red and maroon,
Right.
that means you're not moving.
You're not moving. And, and you mentioned West Seattle. I mean, that's going to be interesting to see what happens in West Seattle when the new tunnel replaces the viaduct, when 2 lanes one way replaces 3 lanes one way, and see what that does to traffic. It could really be a real snarl. Now, something I heard about that, just to kind of change the subject slightly, is right now there's a commission that is studying what the tolls are going to be on the tunnel, because they don't want to make the same mistake they made on 520 and have the tolls so high that people don't use it. So,
Are people not using 520?
well, not as much as they used to.
It's because you got to pay for it.
It's because you have to pay a lot for it. I mean,
Yeah.
I just, I don't have a good to-go pass, and I had to go over there on Saturday, and I think the thing said $4.53, pay by mail.
Well, David, stick around for a few minutes after the show. We will set you up with a good to-go pass. It takes about a minute.
Okay.
I know Heather.
Heather has them.
is like she is on the ball when it comes to tolls, and I bet we can find a computer and get you all set up. We are here with David Bell, managing broker with RE/MAX Metro East Side. David, so commute is definitely a big one, and nowadays, when you get through, talking to people with advice, the commutes seem to always be changing. I mean, everywhere you look, there is traffic in Seattle, and everywhere you look, there is road construction. How
right
do you
now it's
help
terrible.
people? I mean, most people are now buying houses for 5 to 7 years or beyond. How do you help somebody maybe understand the scope of the commute as it pertains to real estate?
Well, I'm going to change that a little bit if I can. This is something that I think is unique that I do, is I really sit down and I talk to people about, well, part of their lifestyle. And part of their lifestyle is, are you spontaneous people or do you plan everything? And depending on the answer to that, if they are spontaneous people and they all of a sudden they say, hey, let's go downtown Seattle and have dinner, and it's 6 o'clock and it's nightmare traffic, they may not have dinner until 8:30 that night. So they don't understand that. If they plan everything in advance, then it's not as big of a deal. But if you're just spontaneous, want to say, well, let's go to a Mariners game, or let's go to a Seahawks game, the commute getting there is really, really difficult. So that's a kind of a unique thing that I figured out many years ago. And it's really important to talk about. It's important to talk about a lot of things.
It is. Well, and I don't mean to harp on the commute, but
All right, back to the commute.
No,
All right.
no, but we do have to go to break. But the commute really does impact a lifestyle, because
Hugely.
I know people who they're an hour each way in traffic, so you're 2 hours a day. That's 10 hours a week. You're like 20 days a year sitting in traffic.
Yeah.
And I think whether it's not just about being spontaneous, it's, do you want to spend more time with your kids or your family, or do you want to be able to, the stress level, the stress that's associated with it, it really does play a huge role.
Would you rather sit in traffic for 45 minutes and just sit there and barely move, or would you rather be driving at 40 or 50 miles an hour for an hour and a half?
I'd probably rather be driving.
Yeah.
Window down, trucking.
Arm out.
Just trucking.
Having a bag of Cheetos or something.
Oh, I don't know.
And
if I had to sit in traffic, and I don't commute, but if I did, I see those guys smoking cigarettes with the windows up.
Oh,
just for hours. You're just like, oh man, it's crazy.
yeah. But see that, commute is a killer. And then people tell themselves, oh, well, I can deal with it. It'll be worth the commute because I can have this, acre of land and this house that, my wife just truly loves, and the kids have a huge yard to play in. And after 6 months of the commute, all of a sudden, their ideas about how wonderful that house is changes.
Well, and as we get into winter, you'll be going to work in the dark and coming home in the dark, whether you commute or not. So
lots of vitamin D.
Yeah, there you go. That's what you can eat instead of smoking ciggies or eating Cheetos on your commute. David, we do have to go to break again. At David Bell, managing broker with RE/MAX and our resident RE/MAX Hall of Famer. When we come back, Jeff Erdman's going to join us from the Lake Shore Corporation, a company that acquires, develops, redevelops, and manages properties throughout the Pacific Northwest. And, on the commercial side, a little bit less to deal with when it comes to a commute. But, hey, as traffic gets worse, something that investors need to think about. We'll be back after this break.